everyone. Welcome to the weekly recap. We have PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds developer going after Epic Games. We have some Lawbreakers numbers, accidental crossplay on Fortnite, and a couple shoutouts.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
So the developer for PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, which if you've never heard their name before, is Bluehole. Bluehole.
Yes.
So Bluehole, I would like to know who the Bluehole that came up with Bluehole is. Bluehole wants to, or is considering further action against Epic Games for coming out with a gameplay mode that seems too similar to essentially their mode.
Yeah.
Because I guess their game's probably one mode.
Yeah.
So the Battle Royale mode came out in Fortnite, which is Epic's newest game. And basically the developer said that's too similar to what we've done and to ultimately the way that they put it, what makes our game what it is and what makes it sell.
What is the strategy behind this?
What is the strategy behind that? Because now you've announced to everyone that there's another game doing what makes your game so cool. So if anybody had any problems in PlayerUnknown, like now you know there's somewhere else you can go.
Yeah, there's a more polished version of it out there now.
Epic Games is huge. That's a huge, well-known developer. So there doesn't seem to be a positive strategy in doing that.
Yeah, it's very weird.
And you know, in business, if you're a giant in business and you're doing something that other people like, they're going to emulate you. They say in business, if you're not being emulated by anybody, nobody's trying to copy you, then you're not doing anything good.
Well, on top of that, I mean, we say it all the time, competition is good. So if anything, if they were going to draw attention to this, they should, congratulate them on also having a similar game mode and say something to the effect of, well, let's see, what you can do, what you can bring to the space. And then they should try to one-up them after that.
And they should try to make theirs better.
Yeah.
It should become a competition where PlayerUnknown has become big enough that you would think that Bluehole would just be like, whatever, Fortnite's a tiny game. I mean, they're not going to do anything to us.
When Naughty Dog ripped off the Horde mode in Gears of War 4 and Uncharted, no one came out from either Coalition or Microsoft or anyone saying that was a bad thing.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you do something that's that good, that polished, and people like it, you want competition in that space. You want to see if Naughty Dog can do something a little better and push it further than you have, and then one-up them in the future.
That's really ultimately how we've gotten to where, if you think about the big shooters, they all have similar modes to one another. How did we get there? Because somebody did it, and then the others copied them, and then they all just made their own versions of them. They all just kind of one-upped each other until you got the uniqueness that's each game. So then they tried to come out and write another article, or I guess they did an interview and somebody wrote an article, where they tried to, as they put it, clarify what they're upset about. I was more confused after reading it. We'll link the article in the description.
Very confusing interview.
It was so confusing.
Yeah.
It seemed like there were 2 points made, and they were made about 80 times. I'm not kidding. You'll
Just
scroll
over and over
4
again.
different times across your computer screen to read this article.
Yeah.
One of them was, basically the premise was, it's not the game or the mode, it's Epic Games.
Epic Games is where the issue is.
Our problem is with Epic Games. That's what it is.
Yes, yeah.
So our problem is not with the mode, it's with Epic Games, which the original article said the problem was the mode.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that they kept saying is that they pay Epic Games to use Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
That's weird, because they're a customer of them. It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
If it were the other way around, maybe you would then have a leg to stand on there.
Yeah, like my customers watching what I'm doing and they're copycatting me.
Yeah.
But what in the world does paying for Unreal Engine have to do with Epic Games not being able to...
Super strange, yeah.
Um,
the guy, and I mean, in the interview, he just made himself seem like a blue hole. I mean,
just like a blue hole. Yeah, it made total sense. I was like, you're the guy that named this.
Yeah.
So Lawbreakers numbers are bad. They're some of the worst we've seen, really, if we're being fully honest. And so Cliffy B, the developer for Lawbreakers, did an interview this week as well. He's back. And basically said he was humbled by the performance of the game. Which is refreshing, given all of the things that we've heard him say over the last several months.
But it's too little too late for most people that were offended.
Definitely. Yeah. So, it's something that we've mentioned before, and we've mentioned the way that he was conducting himself and how dangerous of a position he was putting himself in, because the shooter space is done, it's full, it's crowded, people have their shooter. So if you're going to try to come out with a game, a shooter's the hardest game to come out with. I mean, I think we could agree on that. So he comes out with a shooter, and then of course was just, limiting it to PC and PS4, which we've never had a problem with. That's totally understandable. It was always the way that he explained how he was doing that. So shout out to Gordon Jenkins, who's one of our most awesome watchers, who basically asked, so will he now backpedal and try to put it on Xbox?
Yeah, I think the obvious answer is yes, that has to happen. But then that begs the question, why hasn't it happened already? Why hasn't he acknowledged it and said, at the very least, we're working on an X version? Because, the X has got a lot of hype right now. Everyone's talking about it.
Now's the time to get on that train.
Yeah, you could tag along on that train and get a little bit of press saying we're going to have an enhanced version. So then, after you ask that question, we're not seeing that. Is it because the deal he signed with Sony, does it exclude you even mentioning coming to Xbox?
I think it further proves what we've really said all along. There is a deal in place.
There's got to be. Yeah.
Because otherwise he would have backpedaled so fast and started just being like, oh, it's coming to Xbox, it's coming to the X. There's no way he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, there's got to be a deal in place.
And so I also think it will come to Xbox. I think, like you said, there's no choice to be made there. It has to come to Xbox to revive the whole entire project.
For an attempt at that.
Or an attempt at it. But the thing is, that would then raise a question as to the integrity of his original statement about why it's not on Xbox.
Yes, because essentially what he was saying was, we have a small team, we have only a 65-man team, we don't have the funds, we don't have the resources to execute a launch on 3 platforms, so we chose 2.
Yeah.
Well, the thought process would then follow, you're doing that, hoping that you get sales on the 2 platforms to fund the third platform's edition. Well, now the sales aren't there. So how do you even come out with an Xbox version?
So now it's even less likely you would be able to afford it.
Should be.
Based
off of that
logic.
And
I'm guessing it's not. I'm totally guessing that all of a sudden, magically, the funds are going to appear.
Yeah.
I'm
guessing somebody will link them to the tutorial that they were asking for on Twitter a while back. Because they were asking, seriously, like...
The stupid tutorial. We got to find that again and link that as well, because that's definitely worth a laugh. But they did basically a tutorial where they...
No, they were... The people that work for Cliffy were saying... Oh, cool. If it's that easy, where's the tutorial? On Twitter, they were trying to make fun of...
Oh, yeah.
Of other PC developers saying they got their game up and running in 4 hours. So.
Yeah. Okay, so I remember that now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do with that. Because the PR is going to have to be careful.
Yeah.
A lot of Xbox fans are kind of like, no, I'm done.
If you wait too long, the game's really going to get forgotten.
Yeah.
So if you wait too long, you have Destiny 2, you have Call of Duty coming out here soon. They're doing updates for Battlefield. You've got Anthem coming out here soon. It's just going to get completely lost.
Yeah, we're about to get several big releases on Xbox. So there's that, and then there's the fact that a lot of the fan base was alienated.
Yeah.
So, the other big thing this week was the accidental, intentional crossplay issue. Also Epic Games, also Fortnite.
Yeah.
Interesting timing with the whole coming out with the Battle Royale mode as well. The time frames coincided.
Yeah, lots of PR for Epic.
Of PR for Epic. Epic is making some smooth moves in the PR department.
Yeah.
So essentially what happened is there was a few hours of time where PlayStation and Xbox had crossplay on Fortnite.
Yes.
And my initial question was, how in the world does Fortnite, Epic, have a button that crosses PlayStation and Xbox? Like, how would they even have a button that does that?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like they flipped a switch. The only thing I can come up with on this is that the servers that run both the Xbox and PlayStation have to be essentially the same. They're essentially the same servers. So it looks like they really don't need to get permission or to get a certification from both Xbox Live and PlayStation Network to do that. It looks like they have control over it and they can do whatever they want with that stuff. So probably running the same code. I guess the game is not really different on either platform.
Makes a lot more sense than where I was standing before that as a possibility, because I was like, how does a developer have a button that crosses the 2 major platforms?
Yeah, it's really strange, and it's strange that it happened to begin with.
And it's really strange that it happened. Not that strange if you look at the grounding as to why something like that might be beneficial to
probably to get more attention for Fortnite.
Yeah, so when I first heard it, I thought, well, maybe they're testing something. In fact, I got excited. I was like, hey, maybe PlayStation told them to hit that button. And they were going to test out a little bit of crossplay.
That could be. I mean, we've heard that they're talking with Sony on trying to do some crossplay for some of the games. So that could also be.
It could have been a test. I doubt it. It definitely seems like it coincides with some free marketing for Fortnite. But.
Yeah, definitely.
And, that kind of raises the question as to, where are the funds going? Mm-hmm. Because crossplay is one of a few things that's getting a lot of emphasis right now.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not a fan of crossplay. Yeah. I don't think you're a fan of crossplay.
No, not a big fan of crossplay. Not a big fan of the Play Anywhere initiatives.
That one too. And then VR is the other one. VR,
keyboard and mouse.
A lot of funding.
Lots of things like that.
Keyboard and mouse. So, it's they're pushing pretty hard for the crossplay and they're pushing pretty hard for the Play Anywhere. Mm-hmm. And
well, they were. I don't know. It seems to me like they're slowing down, but I could be wrong.
The Play Anywhere seems to be slowing down. The crossplay, not as much. The crossplay, I think they're still pursuing. And it's interesting because, I don't know anybody I know a few people who kind of like Play Anywhere. They think that's kind of a cool idea. But I know a lot more people who think, that competes with themselves in a negative way.
Yeah. Well, when you say a few people, you're probably talking about people we interact with online, like on Twitter, right?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, because we have a pretty good group of gamer friends that we know and that we game with online that live all over the country and we talk to.
But more real life friends.
There's more real life friends, people that we've known for a while. Some of these people I grew up with. That are just in our little group of gamers. Yeah. And, I talk with them about some of this stuff because they watch the videos and then we have a topic to go on. And I always want to get their viewpoint on these things because they're kind of the real gamer. They're not on YouTube.
They're the normal, everyday gamer.
They're not on YouTube. They don't have Twitters.
Yeah. They're
not looking at any of the things that you and I are seeing or interacting with the people that we're seeing.
Right.
So to me, they're the true real gamers. Some of them are hardcore.
Core customer.
Some of them are hardcore and some of them are more casual, but they're the ones that buy the games and buy the systems and make decisions based off of
and see
what's
the
available.
Marketing and see those types of programs. All of us that are more heavily involved and we're on Twitter and we're on YouTube and we listen to each other's opinions about things.
We're very much the minority.
We're very much the minority. So we look at things a little bit differently. We know things a little bit quicker. And we generally don't see something for the first time in its marketing approach. We generally see it as more of a leak or a tweet or somebody saying something kind of minor. So to me, it seems like Play Anywhere in particular lowers the competition. In fact, crossplay does too, but in a different way. So Play Anywhere kind of causes us to not get console exclusives or not get,
Well, I don't know if we can draw a direct line to saying that it would cause that, but I think what we were talking about previously is maybe taking some of those initiatives and some of the resources that go into them and putting it towards the things that people are actually asking for.
Yeah, because I think what people forget is the crossplay, the Play Anywhere, the VR, if you're on the Sony side, are taking up money.
Yes.
They're taking up research and development.
Tons of R&D.
They're taking up money.
Tons of marketing.
People. They're taking up labor time for people. So the question is what, if they're pushing Play Anywhere or they're pushing crossplay, what could that money go to? What would you put that money? What's one or two things you would go and put that money to if you actually had that choice?
I mean, obviously, it would be more games, more
because it's really about the games.
That's what everybody always says. They want more games. None of the platforms seem to have enough for anyone out there. If you really listen to
very true,
to the vocal minority. So I mean, that would be the smartest thing to do. What I would ask people, because we have interacted with a couple people that said that they did like the Play Anywhere, they did like the ability to do that. Is if you found out though that maybe you didn't get a game because you got those types of services, Crossplay, Play Anywhere, keyboard and mouse, all these new initiatives that are blending PC and Xbox. If you found out that you maybe didn't get Sunset Overdrive 2 because they went in that direction, would you be okay with that? Is that an okay trade-off?
Yeah.
I think most people would rather get a sequel to Sunset Overdrive, and I'm just using that as an example, but just more of the games they want, sequels to the other games that we've seen that we've been asking for a while.
Definitely.
Instead of these initiatives. And we had a pretty big conversation on Twitter about this recently, and it seemed like not a single person was really on board with any of Microsoft's initiatives.
Yeah, you essentially posed the question on Twitter, what do people think about the Play Anywhere aspect in regard to Forza releasing on PC and Xbox?
And all the bad reviews the PC guys are giving it intentionally.
Yeah. So, and we found that again, and most people who are on Twitter for gaming are more of the semi-hardcore, but we found again that people aren't really behind that. That's not really
not just them, but calling back to the thing I was saying about our friends or
yeah, so they have the same response.
They don't care about any of that. Not a single one of our little group of friends, and it actually is a pretty good sized group.
Yeah.
Not a single one care about crossplay, play anywhere, keyboard or mouse, any of that stuff.
No, we're all console gamers. We're all on our couch playing on our console, and that's how we want it to be. And we want games that are on console. And I know that a lot of people do not want crossplay. Microsoft discusses the idea of PC and Xbox crossplay a lot because it's the same company. But then there's also that idea of having Sony and Nintendo, which works in some instances. Minecraft is a great example of where that's a fabulous
We've
use
said before,
of everything.
It's not really going to benefit the person that has the PlayStation Now or network subscription. It's not going to benefit the person that subscribes to Xbox Live on a yearly basis. Not really. They have a pretty good pool already. It's really going to benefit the 12-year-old that has a Switch that his friends don't have a Switch yet.
Yeah.
So he wants a bigger pool of people to play with. That's who it makes sense for as far as that one goes.
Yeah.
But there, again, we've said it before, there's not a lot of situations like that. So why is the push to make everybody have these things, why is it bigger than the actual amount of games that can even really take advantage?
Yeah, that's the weird thing is there's a few games that might make sense to do crossplay between Sony and Microsoft, but that doesn't really make sense because you and I have discussed what the Sony-Microsoft relationship is, and it's pure competition. That's why we get such awesome hardware, such awesome software all the time, is they're always trying to out-innovate each other. So if you mix your player base, essentially at some point it becomes one of the companies gets pushed out or they merge together because it becomes just gaming. So there's one company that does gaming if you just mix everybody like that.
Well, yeah, it could definitely lead to that at some point.
And that you don't want that.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that happens, they don't care what games you want. They don't care what hardware you want. They don't. Everything is lacking competition, and competition is the biggest thing that drives new innovation.
Definitely.
So what will be interesting to see is, and we put out a video earlier this week.
Where we talked a little bit about this.
So we talked about Phil Spencer's promotion extensively in a video about that. So if you haven't checked that out, we'll link it. But essentially the question becomes, when somebody goes up to a role like an executive vice president, they start to get a lot of pull. They start to be involved in really important conversations. And not only that, but they become eligible for essentially part of the big budget that a company gets, that the shareholders see. So now you can figure this all started with a point in time earlier this year where they realized that Windows, which is essentially a dying technology that's not needed as much anymore, and gaming were exactly the same amount of revenue for Microsoft. So
for the first time
ever. So gaming then gets a seat in the executive group so that essentially they get more funding and they get driven forward.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing about gaming is gaming's never going to slide down like Windows. Windows is a one-time purchase and it works essentially on PCs. And a lot of people don't have PCs anymore.
A lot of people are kind of switching away from having the desktop PC tower or even the smaller laptop builds. People are kind of moving away from that because your phone can do a lot of things now. Your tablet can do a lot of things now.
And there's all different operating systems because there's phones and tablets and computers and kind of computers, and then there's the real computers. Yeah. So as Windows and other programs like that keep going down, the things that are going up is gaming and then things like the cloud.
Yes.
And this is actually a reorganization. Most people think that Phil Spencer just got promoted and it's kind of out of nowhere. It's part of a big reorganization by Microsoft.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to get more details about that tomorrow because it was Tuesday that they said they would come out. But essentially it looks like the entire organization is shifting as their fiscal year just ended into focusing on the initiatives for next year.
Yeah.
And they essentially said that the initiatives have to do mostly with the cloud and with streamlining a lot of the cloud type services, and then obviously bringing up gaming as a core area of interest.
Oh yeah, look how much it's grown.
Huge driver.
Look how much it's grown, and I've said it a million times in the last 15 years. I remember when it was under 50 billion a year. Now it's 100 billion a year industry. That's going to continue. Crazy. Eventually, someday it'll be 200 billion, and probably quite a bit more than that.
Absolutely.
If you look at some of the things that have been patented, they actually patented the holodeck, which is from Star Trek. You know, you walk into this room and it's a big video game rather than having a controller. That's been patented. They're working on something that's going to have the technology, the base for the technology to achieve that someday. So this is only going to get bigger.
Really interesting. Yeah. And then it comes back to the same question that we posed in the other video, which is, what does Phil Spencer do now? Yeah. Because now he has the ability to potentially get more money than other EVPs if he can talk about the money in a way that makes him eligible for more money than
if he can really push for it,
if he can really push for it and be the shark that it requires to be able to do that. And then where does he put the money?
We heard recently he's a great white, so...
We did hear that. I hope that's true.
Yeah, I definitely hope so, too.
In his role, he really needs to be the shark because the other EVPs are also sharks, I guarantee you.
Well, at most companies that we're familiar with, that's kind of how things worked.
Yeah.
What Microsoft could potentially be...
Could be more laid back,
different.
maybe.
If you look at some of their Twitters and some of the photos they post up, sometimes it seems like they're...
Yeah.
You know, they're not that way.
Quite as rigid, maybe, as things that we've seen.
But hopefully, when it comes down to the actual grind, the actual work they are, and hopefully Phil really pushes for a bigger budget.
Right things.
Yeah,
for the bigger budget first.
If he could very easily say, if you want it to go from what it used to be, whatever minuscule beginnings we had in gaming, to 11% of the company, if you want that to be double, triple that in the future, give me a bigger budget and let me show you. What this thing could potentially become. I think everybody sees that it's going in that direction.
Yeah. So the first hope is that he really can get that bigger budget, get the biggest possible budget, essentially. Yeah. The second hope is that he takes that budget and he puts it into, my vote would be into kind of some of those AA exclusive titles.
Yeah.
Because we're pretty handled in the AAA area. Yeah. I'm happy with
I think most people disagree with us, but
a lot of people
if you're counting all the third-party AAAs and the first-party AAAs for all the different platforms, that's a lot of games.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
And they all kind of have their niche within the space, and it's all kind of covered. The second-party games like the Dead Risings, the State of Decay, Sunset Overdrive, those AA size games are what people love, and I think if they took some of that budget and put it there, that would be exceptional.
We would both love to see more AA games, and then try to grow those into bigger games, kind of like what they're doing on the Recore. It'd be nice if they can continue to do that.
Yeah.
Kind of what should have happened with Sunset Overdrive.
Absolutely.
If that game released this year instead of when it did, I think it would have had a much bigger push and done much better. It just released when there was only 10 million Xboxes out there, so not a big pool. It
just didn't have the same attention that it unfortunately now has.
Yeah.
But the question is, in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong, I think that Phil Spencer is big on the Play Anywhere initiative. I think he's big on the Crossplay initiative because he's made statements that he doesn't want to withhold content from platforms, and he wants to... Essentially, they're always talking about unity, bringing everybody together. And so, it's tempting to say he might put those budgets to those types of programs instead of putting them into, ultimately, the games. Because it's still going to be limited money. There's probably going to be more money coming into the Xbox division, but it's still limited. So it will be interesting to see how he decides to use that power, and hopefully it's something that pays off for us in the long run.
And when we see these kind of restructuring type things and these promotions happen, sometimes in the coming months, the coming 6 to 9 months, you'll even see people get let go. You'll see a lot of people leave a company, sometimes voluntarily, sometimes not, as things kind of shift around. So that's a possibility.
Yeah.
We'll see there. And then maybe at some point in time in the future that there's no position underneath him, but they might just create a new position as right in between him and the gamers, essentially, especially if it continues to grow this way. I think they will.
Kind of the head of Xbox that he...
Yeah, I think that they will eventually create that type of position in the future at some point.
Yeah, so both you and I have seen in the past where they'll kind of create a position or they'll move somebody up onto the executive panel where there wasn't a position before, like with Phil Spencer. And they'll essentially just wait a while and see how much work they can really get out of that person. They'll dump more responsibility on them.
Yeah.
And see, again, we don't know if Microsoft works this way, but, they might test Phil Spencer and see how much of that he can take on and then decide to do department heads like head of Xbox. If they do that, I hope they do a head of Windows gaming and a head of Xbox gaming and they keep those separate.
Yeah.
Because I think, obviously Phil Spencer is the EVP for both. So that would cause them to unify even further when I think a lot of people want them to still keep their separate identities.
Yeah, well, it seems like everybody we interact with wants them to be separate.
Yeah, so hopefully, as time goes on, hopefully they do take on somebody that's head of Xbox and somebody that's head of Windows. But obviously a continuing conversation will get more and more info as things go along. And now there's a lot of time that passes. He's not going to snap his finger and all of a sudden we've got all these games coming out. It takes years to see what's happening with him on the EVP panel. So we will continue to report anything we hear. excited to see tomorrow what we find out about
Yeah,
the
it should be
reorganization
neat.
of Microsoft as a whole. I've been following that a lot, but you can't find out much about it at the moment. So
Yeah.
hopefully that will be a little bit more clear after we find out some of those
Enlightening.
things. Yeah, hopefully we're enlightened by the news. Hopefully the news hits tomorrow, like first thing, and we get enlightened. That's it, right? Other than we got one more shout out.
Yeah.
So shout out to Boom. So Boom has been promoting all of our videos like crazy, Mr. Boomstick. Shout out to him. We really appreciate it. And
he's been incredible. We can't thank you enough for
he's been working
shining
hard
a
on
spotlight
sharing
on
our
us.
videos.
Really,
Yeah, so essentially has been shining a spotlight.
Definitely.
And we always appreciate everybody who shares or who mentions us and that type of thing. So
that's the only way we're growing, because we don't really, as far as I can tell, we don't show up in the recommended on YouTube at all. So we only grow whenever people share or like or do those things, and we greatly appreciate that, because we are such a small new channel. So.
Yeah. So anybody also who, if you have shared our stuff or if you like our video and it shows up on your Twitter or whatever, send that to us, DM that to us, so that we can do a shout out for you as well, because we always shout out anybody we know is a tremendous source of support like that. So also working on a website.
Yes, yeah.
So working on a website for G4G Media, hopefully put out a couple of articles every week once we get that up and running as well.
Yeah, hopefully each one of us will have at least an article once a week to begin, and then we'll kind of grow it from there and see how much we can put into that, and really just expand on some of the things that we talk about here, but in a written form, so you can have sort of two ways to reference it, and we can add information that we weren't able to do on the show.
Yeah, definitely. So looking forward to that. That's it, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. And if you click the bell, you'll get notifications when we do drop new videos. Hopefully more content coming soon. Give this video a like, and thanks for watching.